I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Well, we can't believe that next week is 4th of July weekend. Let's go to Rockland County. With us today is Tom Ossa, and Tom is going to talk to us about the Battle of Stony Point, which is a historical moment in the war.
Thanks, John, for having me on. Well, the Battle of Stony Point, and it's located in Rockland County, New York. It was a decisive American victory during the American Revolutionary War. It was on July 16th in 1779. So if we could get some context here, this was a few years, obviously, after the Declaration of Independence and the battle to maintain American independence, being able to guide our own lives and be able to live free lives from outside influences. That was the whole idea. Unfortunately, at that time, there was a lot of concern that Americans would not win this Revolutionary War. Enter July 16, 1779. Brigadier General Anthony Wayne led a daring nighttime assault on a heavily fortified British position on the Hudson River in New York, capturing the garrison in a swift bayonet charge. I actually live approximately 3 or 4 miles away from the Stony Point battlefield. It's preserved as a state historic site, and you can actually explore the grounds. They have a cannon there. They have a reenactment of the troop layouts from the British as well as the American troops. During this raid, basically, it was a massive boost to American morale. It resulted in the capture of one of the most important British supplies and artillery routes across the Hudson Valley, and especially right on the Hudson River. You can imagine that West Point, being approximately 10 to 15 miles up the road, you want to imagine that if the American troops were not able to create that decisive victory, the British would have been able to hold on to that spot for years and years on end. Now, unfortunately, a few days later, the British were able to reclaim the location. However, the important part of this is this really galvanized the American troops, especially under General Washington, who ultimately was able to marshal, of course, the Americans to victory several years later. Now, instead of relying on artillery bombardments, Anthony Wayne ordered his troops to remove the flints from their muskets and rely entirely on stealth and bayonets in the dead of the night. So this was something that the British troops could not even fathom, because up until that point, there was always troop layouts. The troops were laid out in formation, and they marched forward. The way that the Americans fought was a completely different method than anybody had even seen in military history by that point, at least between the British and the Americans. The Americans, unfortunately, did suffer casualties. There were 15 killed, 18 wounded, but the British also suffered heavily. 20 were killed, 70 were wounded. Still tragic. People lost lives, and there were more than 500 troops that were captured. Again, this is a turning point in the war, not necessarily for positioning, but for morale. And morale is a very important thing in winning battles. And you can imagine if something like this didn't happen, the course of American history would have been completely different, John. It's just amazing. So, and there's a lot more that you can learn about the history of not just the Battle of Stony Point, but also a rich, rich history of all the Revolutionary War activities. And a place that you could go to learn more about this is the website revolutionaryrockland.com. It's run by the local libraries, the Library Association of Rockland County. They've spearheaded it, and you can learn a lot about the history of the Revolutionary War and how Rockland was an integral part of that back in the 1700s. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, and it's something that really gives us pause, especially at this time, America's 250th anniversary.
Tom Ossa, thank you so much, and We'll catch up with you again real soon.
You're welcome, John. Thank you.